How are you going to prep that guy?
So we're going to do AeroPress.
Okay.
I think so, partially just because it's fun to try different coffees in different ways. A lot of times when I'm prepping coffee to compare, I find that it's really helpful to brew them all the same way because that way you're eliminating some degree of variables.
Yeah.
So you can taste more of the coffee and less of the combination of coffee and how it's prepped. But in this case, I know how they all taste, and so I thought it'd be more fun and more interesting to show you all the ways that I think these coffees can taste more interesting.
Cool.
More sweet, fragrant deliciousness. This time in the form of Lagro blend, our espresso blend. I really love the smell of this ground coffee. It has a lot of just a lot of cherry. I feel like a lot of cherry, like chocolate covered cherries, and it just really smells really sweet. And in a different kind of way than the Diablo. I feel like Diablo has a little bit of a heavier body, a little bit more, I guess sometimes I say tobacco, but I think maybe that's not the right word, but a little bit more of that, like almost an earthiness to it a little bit. Whereas this is just really creamy, really sweet. So I'm going to do an AeroPress that I feel like highlights some of those or helps convert some of those fragrances, those really nice fragrances, into flavors that we taste in the brewed coffee. And what I'm going to do is a recipe that's about 17 grams of coffee to 250 milliliters of water.
Okay.
And that's similar ratio to what we did last time with the French press, but I'm also changing a few other things. So I changed my grind. It's a lot finer. So I'm going to do a much shorter brew time. Brew time is all about particle size. So the last brew was significantly longer. It was like 5 minutes because our grind was really quite coarse. Whereas so this time it's going to be about 2 minutes total.
Oh, okay.
So got my water ready. I'm using water that's a little bit on the, not on the cool side, but on the cooler side compared to what you might want to use for other coffees. So Diablo, we use water about 200 degrees. This water is a little bit hotter because it's a little bit of a lighter roast, so we're trying to extract more. So I'll be agitating as well and using water that's slightly hotter in an attempt to get more out of the coffee, to better extract the coffee. And then when we move on to the next two blends in a single origin, we'll be using water that's even hotter to bring out more of the flavors and more of the acidity. Anyway, so 12, we're going to go a little bit more. 14 and 16. A little bit more. And we have 17. I'm going to tear it out. Start my timer. Again, this doesn't require a whole lot of finesse. I'm just going to fill it and make sure that I saturate all of the coffee grounds. The AeroPress is extremely versatile. It doesn't brew a lot of coffee, but it can brew a small amount of coffee in a lot of different ways. And so this is just one way of using it that I find is pretty easy. I don't get as many spills this way as I do some other ways, and it's pretty consistent and even with the extraction. So what I do is fill it all up, make sure all the coffee is saturated, and then I like to cap it and just let it steep for about a minute and a half or so. And then at that point, what I'll do is take off the plunger. So what the plunger is doing in this point is basically just creating a vacuum so that any of the water or coffee or brewed coffee, I guess at that point, isn't dripping through so much through the filter. So you can see it's not falling through at this point because it's suctioned with the plunger. But when I remove the plunger, it sort of releases that suction again. It starts dripping through. So this is just, again, to give us more consistency. And we're getting to that point now, so I'm going to pop this out. And I do a stir to make sure all the coffee is saturated. And then I do just a slow, gradual plunge. And it shouldn't be too hard to push down. If it is, then there's probably something wrong. Then your grind is probably way too fine. And if it's way too easy to push down, then your grind is probably too coarse. And you'll also, with those two things, you'll notice flavors that you probably won't like for better better worse.
So it's not just like how often you've been to the gym, one way or the other.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So I find that when I brew this way, and this is not necessarily part of making an awesome AeroPress, but when I do it in this manner, I always get this little cone that shows up, and that just has to do with that last stir that I did.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of science.
And I push it to the point where it starts to kind of hiss, and then I pull it off because I don't like that stuff. And then I can plunge that elsewhere, and then it's clean up on an AeroPress. It's pretty easy. But yeah, it's not too silty, or it doesn't have too many fines in it. But sometimes I find that the last bit that you press out can have some sediment that I personally choose to discard.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
Here's the coffee that we're going to be drinking now.
Awesome.
And
Oh, look at that. It's so beautiful.
it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be delicious.
It's a lot clearer.
Well, Bunny, don't
take
even
it.
talk.
I'll take
No,
the
I didn't
short
mean it
part.
like that.
Compared to the Bunny AeroPress.
No, yeah. Well, I meant compared to the last cup of
Yes.
coffee.
And
Yeah.
look at this beautiful caramelly color. It's just so pretty. It's so
I want to couch that.
gorgeous.
That's really good.
It's like the top of a flan.
Oh, it is like the top of it. It's really good. I love the
Yeah. The cherry, maybe? Yeah, because a lot of times I don't like it Meyer lemon, blah, blah. And this is, has this little bite, but it's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way more citrusy to me, though. I feel like,
But not like,
not in an overpowering
Yeah.
way or anything,
not,
but it's like
but
that.
in the lime with the tequila like last weekend.
No,
Right.
no, that's right.
Yeah.
What was last
It's really
weekend?
refreshing.
Don't get into it
Don't
with
let-
them.
yeah.
I just brew the coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't invited.
We don't want to know. Yeah, I wonder why, Bunny.
Wonder
Wonder
why.
why. Yeah, definitely more citrusy, on less. I like cherry because as a good descriptor because it's kind of bridges sort of a berry, citrus kind of thing. But I guess I feel like it's
Or
more.
like a cranberry, a little,
Yeah.
a teeny
Ooh.
bit tart.
Yeah.
But still
The
sweet.
cranberry.
Mhm.
Yeah, because that has some like kind of citrusy notes in it too, that tartness.
Yeah.
Are you getting the milk chocolatiness?
Yeah.
So this is your espresso that you use. So obviously you guys developed this to stand up to the 87 ounces of milk that everybody likes in their drink.
There's that. It's versatile, I
Yeah.
mean, it's. I think a lot of espresso blends try to be versatile, and I think that we did a pretty good job with this, or we continue to do a pretty good job with this. So the Brazil base gives it the body, the sweetness, a lot of those chocolate flavors. But then the rotating cast of washed coffees that we bring in give it that extra punch. But I also buy coffees specifically for the espresso that have more body and have just a little bit more of a mellow acidity because I just want it to be creamy. That's
Yeah.
when I always think about this coffee, I just think creamy. And so in an espresso, you'll get a little bit more of just syrupy qualities, like really, I don't know how else to put it, but just really sweet, really sweet syrup quality. So like
Okay.
an amaretto syrup or something like that come out in the espresso that I think are really nice. And more chocolate, a little bit more of like dried cherry. But in a brew like this, it opens up a little bit more, and I think it's just really good for anybody. It's really easy
Cool.
drinking coffee.
You like it, ladies?
Absolutely.